Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Napoleon, told back again with some Enlisted videos. Today we are doing another campaign guide, and this one is actually on Tunisia. And for those that are wondering how the heck did I choose Tunisia, it's simple. Like I basically I had everyone vote in my Discord, and everyone chose Tunisia. And to be exact, it's main reason why they chose Tunisia to a certain extent is because of Italy. But that's it. Let's just go. Let's start with the historical accuracy. The Tunisian campaign, also known as the Battle of Tunisia, was a series of battles that took place in Tunisia during the North African campaign of the Second World War. Therefore, you will be seeing the Axis forces with Germany and Italy, and the Allied forces with the British and the Americans with some French, but we'll get onto that later. It occurred from November the 17th of 1942 to May the 13th of 1943, and at first it was a massive success for the Germans, but due to supply issues, it was an Allied victory in the end. This battle compensated in 250,000 German and Italian prisoners, with that most of the Africa Corps. Now let's move on to campaign progression. With the Axis, you really have a lot of interesting units. The first one up there is the 754th Grenadier Division of the 334th Infantry Division. That gives you the MP-28, which is nothing to cough at, especially at the early game. You get a premium squad at level... well, you just get a premium squad, and it's an M1340, an Italian tank that saw much action during the North African campaign, and in Italy, Greece, and elsewhere. By level 3, you get the Reggiani 2000. Series 1, and this thing is a pretty good fighter. You also get the 377 Fighter Squadron. Level 4, you get a radio signalman signals. It's pretty good. I would say that it is really useful, especially in an open plane combat. Level 5, you get the Luftwaffe drilling rifle. You get another premium squad after the Luftwaffe drilling rifle. Not that there is any order, but it's the 5th Bezzagari Regiment of the 136 Armored Division, and that gives you a FNAB 43. For those that have played in Normandy, you know what this gun is capable of. Level 6, you get the M1441, another Italian medium tank, produced in 1941 of 14 tons, and it was once again saw service in Greece, Italy. The list just goes on. Level 7, you get the Panzer B-38, and yeah, it's a good anti-tank gun. Level 8, you get the Beretta M1, which is an SMG. Level 9, you get an engineer squad of the Tresse division, but that's that. Level 10, you get a MG squad, a Beretta Mod 30, which is the exact same Beretta Mod 30 that you see in the Normandy campaign. Level 11, you get a Stuka. So, that's interesting. And level 12, you get the Argama Mod 39. Armagera Mod 39. Basically, it's a semi-automatic rifle, and it's Italian semi-automatic rifle is the best way to describe it. Level 13, you get a mortar regiment. Level 14, you get the MP40. For those that are using the MP40, it's a pretty good weapon, especially at the tier you get it. Level 15, you get a Car 98 mounted with a scope. Level 16, you get a Focke-Wulf 190A1. Level 17, you get a flamethrower. That's actually kind of useful in certain situations, but not useful in some. Level 18, you get a Scimavente 7532 M41, and this thing is essentially a tank destroyer. It is of the Senator Regiment of the 131st Armored Division, which is the Senator. That regiment actually saw action in multiple places at El Alamein and Bir El Gubi. But level 19, you get the ZB-26. It's basically a Czech machine gun, if I'm not wrong. Level 20, you get the exact same thing with the Car 98, except for this time you just get a grenade launcher. Level 10, you get a motorized division, and this is nothing to cough at because this motorized division is pretty good. The R-75 of the 10th Panzer Division, the 11th Motorcycle Battalion. Next up, you have level 22, and you get the OVP M1918. I seriously don't know what this is capable of, so I can't tell you anything. But another assault squad, so that's gonna be interesting. Premium squad, you get another one. This time is the 1st Fallschirm Panzer Grenadier Division, Hermann Göring. So nothing to cough at. Historically, this unit was a motorized division, but yeah, that's that. At level 23, you get the anti-tank rifle, GRB 39. Exact same thing. Well, almost the exact same thing as the previous one. Level 24, you get the C202EC, and this thing is a pretty good fighter. Level 25, you get the Gewehr 41, and it is pretty much like the Gewehr 43, but that's that. Next, you get the 1st San Morocco Regiment, or the 3rd Battalion Tobruk, and these are basically Italian Marines, and honestly, I wouldn't get it. Level 26, you get a not that they're bad. It's just that at this tier, getting bolt action rifle Marines is not that useful. Level 26, you have the Beretta M3842, which is, once again, you guessed it, another SMG. 27, you get the Kanko M91 with a scope mount, so this is pretty useful in some areas. Level 28, you get a Panzer 3J. Another premium up next is the BF-109 C6, and this thing is actually quite useful, although I've never tried it. And finally, you have the 90th Light African Division of, the 200 Light Infantry Regiment of the 90th Light African Division. Basically, this just gives you the MG34, and that thing is already quite terrifying for those that have been playing Berlin, Normandy, or Moscow. But anyway, that does it for the Allies. Let's now move on to the... that does it for the Axis. Let's move on to the Allies. For the Allies, you get... this is exactly like the Allies. This is exactly like the Axis. You get a Sten Mark II, and the British. With the British, at level 3, you get a Hurricane, which it's a pretty good fighter. Level 4, you get a SMLE Mark III. If I were you, I'll honestly just take the Enfield. But the Signal Company is nice. Level 5, you get a Winchester Model 1912, a pretty good bolt action shotgun. Level 6, you get a Daimler. I honestly will say this is somewhat better than the Centurion. The Crusader, which is what you get at the start. Level 7, you get the 68th Anti-Tank Regiment with the Boys ATR, and once again, it's a British regiment. You get the Lancer SMG, and from the looks of it, it's just pretty much the exact same as the MP28 too, but just look at the amount of barrels that you see here. Level 9, you get another British division, and this time is actually Enfield. Level 10, you get a Vickers Berthier and an SMG crew. Level 11, you get a Dauntless Dive Bomber with the SBD-3, and you get the Americans. Yay! Level 12, you have the M1 Carbine, which is another American weapon. Level 13, you get the British. Level 14, you get the Thompson, which is nothing to cough at. Level 15, you get the Springfield sniper-mounted rifle. It's the 60th Infantry Regiment of the 9th Infantry Division, so the Americans are here, officially with land troops. You also do start with American squad, so that's that. Level 16, you get a Spitfire, and yeah, that's it. I was about to say that it might have rockets, then I was like, nope, pretty much doesn't. The 1st Infantry Division brings in the M1 Flamethrower. At rank 18, you get the M1 Grant, which is a British tank. Level 19, you get a Bren. Mark 1, which is a British LMG. Level 20, you get the Mark 3 with a grenade thrower. Once again, I will prefer the Enfield. Level 21, you get the WLA, the 81st Armored Recon Squadron with the 1st Armored Division. And yes, it's an American one. Level 22, you get the M1 Thompson. This time, yeah, it's just the M1 Thompson. But you technically do get the M1 Thompson way earlier, right here. Here, yeah, M1A1 Thompson. This one is the M1 Thompson. So yeah, that's that. Finally, we have the Piat. Exact same thing as you see in Normandy. And then you have a P38. I honestly haven't tested this, so I can't really say anything. Level 25, you get the M1 Grand, and that is nothing to cough at, especially with the 8-round magazine. It can do quite a lot of damage. Level 26, you have to get the Thompson M2185. You have a box magazine, so that's going to be interesting. Continuing on, you literally have a British Rifleman Division of the Enfield Note Mark 4, Mark 1, and finally you have at level 20, you have the Crusader, and level 29, you have a Browning M1918A2, so the Americans once again, and I would honestly say the German MG34 is way more deadlier. But that wraps it up for squads or campaign progression for the Allies, and now let's move on to our next subject. Now let's move on to weapons. For the axes, I would highly stick with this weapon. Actually, no, not this weapon. This is the Caro Mod 3 with scope mount. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good sniper rifle at the early game. It can one-shot kill most of the time, or down them at least. But you really want to start with this weapon. It's basically the Karamachi M41. The reason why it's so good is not because of the gun, it's actually because of the bayonet. In close quarters combat, it can actually stand up to SMGs because of the bayonet. So that's going to be really useful. Unfortunately, you don't really have that many bayonets. Or else everyone will be running around with these guns and just killing each other as fast as possible. But let's move on. In terms of late game rifles, you might want to just get this this rifle. This is a semi-automatic rifle. After that, you might want to get the Karamachi M91 or Gewehr 41. My bad. But yes, that's it for rifles. In terms of assault weapons, it's up to you. Technically, it's a pretty good progression. So yeah, that's that. In terms of heavy weapons, Beretta Mod 30 is not a bad weapon. It's pretty cool in some areas. It's just not the best. Obviously, that is nowhere to compare with the ZB26 or the MG34. And for those that are wondering, I don't think anti-tank weapon is really useful, considering the fact that all the anti-tanks, you do potentially have explosion pack, which it is pretty useful at taking out tanks. So yeah, that's heavy weapons. The AB-41 is the starter tank, and it's pretty good. It's not bad. It has a 20mm automatic cannon, and that thing can chew up infantry and tanks. M1441, once again, an Italian tank, and I honestly don't know how well it performs, but just prepare it. But this one is armed with a cannon. The M7532 has a 75mm gun. It's a Scimavente, or looks like a Scimavente, and this thing is basically a tank destroyer with no machine gun. Finally, you have the R75, which is a motor regiment. It's pretty good, not bad. The Panzer IIIJ is what you should be aiming for. that's that. And in terms of planes, yeah, everything right here is pretty good. It's pretty good. Now let's move on to the Allies. In terms of rifles, get the Enfield. But like with the Enfield, you also do have a bayonet. At least some of your weapons have bayonets. Actually, no, the Allies don't really have bayonets, so that's really unfortunate. But if you can get your hands on some bayonets, get them. After that, you can go for the Enfield, another Enfield. But I would actually just save up my stuff for the M1 carbine. After that, you should go for M1 Grand, and yeah, you should potentially get some Enfield Lee snipers. But yeah, that's it for in terms of weapons. Very similar to the Axis in terms of weapons. In terms of assault weapons, Thompson. I honestly don't know what's the difference between these three Thompsons. If you really want to save what do you call it, silver orders, just get this Thompson. But the Sten is alright for a beginner, and yeah, that's that. In terms of heavy weapons, Vickers Brigadier is your first LMG. The Bren Mark 1. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty good, but that and the Browning are pretty tied. So for late game, you can either use the Bren or the Browning, and yeah, the Piat. But yeah, and that's it for heavy weapons. In terms of vehicles, the M13 Mark II has a cannon, I think, instead of the 20mm automatic cannon. 1 second. After that, you get the Daimler M Mark II, which is pretty good. M1 Mark I Grant, way better with a two guns. And you have the WLA, which is mounted with a Browning 50 caliber. You have the Crusader, and that's it for troops. Tanks. Finally, you have the planes, exactly the same as the Axis. It's a level progression, so that's it for weapons. Honestly, very similar to the Axis, except for some minor changes. But that is it. Let's move on to the next subject. Our next subject is squads. For Tunisia, the squads are pretty similar for both sides. Both sides have pretty good SMGs, both sides have pretty good LMGs. They're mostly early war stuff, so nothing to be looking forward to. Some of the squads that I would bring is a radio operator squad, an LMG or a gunner squad, assaulter or SMG squad, and that combined with pilot. And the reason why I choose a pilot instead of a tank is because in Tunisia there's a lot of open maps, and that is perfect for fighters or bombers, depending on what you want to say. Finally, let's move on to our final subject, which is basically tips and tricks. Some of the tips how to get is actually because you have such a limited roster of now silver orders, thanks to Enlisted. Basically what you have to do is to save up as many silver orders for your troops. Therefore, I would really prioritize getting a radio operator squad, a soldier squad, and an LMG squad. Obviously, you can also deploy some other squads, so you should really be saving up your stuff for those squads. Tunisia is for one of those people who like the deserts, or they like early war stuff, or they just, like me, like to play as the Italians or the Afrika Korps. For those that are interested in playing as the British, go ahead. But Tunisia is one of the most, I would say it's slightly less brutal, but that's come from my experience of just running through massive trenches and other stuff. But that's it. Tunisia, there are some very open places, and if I were you, I will really watch out for the high elevation. There was this one time in which my entire team decided to run across the street, but they didn't know that there was a dude holding a BAR on the church tower. So basically what ends up happening is that everyone rushes towards street and they all get mowed down by this one BAR. Finally, I had to deploy a sniper and take him out, but after that, it was like his entire squad was mounted with BARs or something like that, so it was quite painful. Another thing that I would highly suggest is to fix your rifles with bayonets. Usually I would say that I would go for the Kar 98K, but in this situation I actually will be saying that I don't really like the Kar 98K, and the reason why is because the Kar 98K has 5-round magazine. The Italian starter rifle is a Caccino M9040. Wait, no, M1918, and that comes with a bayonet and 6 rounds. Now, historically, that weapon was quite bad. Historically, some of the guns that the Italian army was issuing still were using bullets from 1898, I think. But that is why. Thankfully, Enlisted doesn't have that, or else that gun would be literally unplayable. But that said, yeah. Also, another good thing to choose is to save up your perks and stuff like that for good perks, but that also goes for every other major campaign. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the tips and tricks. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you like watching this video. Now, before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.